annihilated my 30-year marriage in a single afternoon, though the damage had been quietly accumulating for months. It wasn't something I chose. God knows I would have fought for us until my last breath. Some betrayals, however, closed the door on repair. Margaret and I had built what I believed was solid ground. 3 decades of mornings, coffee steaming between us at the kitchen island. She scrolling headlines on her tablet while I navigated the crossword. We developed our own shorthand of jokes. How our bodies creaked together at dawn, and we joked it was our morning orchestra. We raised 2 children who became everything you'd hope for. Emily, 28, recently married and luminous with newlywed glow. Michael, 25, about to finish his MBA at Northwestern. Folks envied us. "You two still look like teenagers," our neighbor Janet said at our last anniversary. Margaret squeezed my hand under the table, and I let that old warmth settle in, certain we had weathered the worst. Then 6 months ago something shifted when Emily moved out to Riverside Heights after the wedding. 3 hours away, close enough for visits, far enough to let her life breathe. Her mother's trips to help made sense at first, a mother's kindness, a mother's excuse. "She needs help with curtains," Margaret told me the first time, stuffing that navy overnight bag with the deliberate calm of someone who'd raised a houseful. "You know Emily, she has no decorating sense." I kissed her goodbye, laughing, and spent the weekend reorganizing the garage. 2 weeks later it was finding a contractor for the kitchen. Then it became every Friday. Margaret would pack that same bag, kiss me goodbye, and come back Sunday with stories about paint samples and furniture shopping. Stories that began to feel rehearsed. The shopping bags stopped appearing. She'd say everything had been ordered online for the better price, but the details slipped away when I asked, what backsplash did she pick? Did she keep the original hardwood? She'd dismiss it. Oh, she's still deciding, but Emily wasn't indecisive. She was exactly like her mother, quick to decide and move on. I told myself it was paranoia. Retirement leaves your brain too much time to notice patterns. After 30 years handling logistics at a manufacturing firm, I couldn't stop seeing inconsistencies. Maybe I was inventing drama where none existed. Then I found the lingerie. That Friday afternoon I watched Margaret pack from the bedroom doorway. She was humming, a nervous little tune she only did when things were off. Into the bag went the lapel set she'd bought last month, the one I suggested because I wanted something pretty to see on her. The black silk nightgown I'd given her for Valentine's Day. The expensive perfume she saved for special nights instead of the everyday bottle. A fashion show for Emily, I told myself. I tried to sound casual. She nearly dropped her makeup bag. "What?" she stammered. "Oh no, I just grabbed what was clean." The lapel still had tags peeking from the delicate fabric. When she kissed me goodbye this time, her lips barely brushed mine. Her eyes were already past my shoulder on the door. Her shampoo, vanilla and honey, scented the room and felt alien, like someone else wearing my wife's face. "Drive safe," I said, the words automatic. "Always do," she answered, already moving. Her heels clicked with a purpose I had not heard in years. I watched her silver Lexus back down the driveway without a wave, without a glance, and the car turned the corner and was gone. The house felt wrong in the quiet. Less lived in, more abandoned, as if it knew a truth I refused to see. I poured a bourbon neat, sat and felt a decision I'd been carrying press at my ribs like something alive. Tomorrow I'd make a surprise visit to Emily. A good father checking on his daughter. Nothing suspicious. But in my gut there was a hunt for proof of a thing I could not yet name. I left at dawn. The Saturday air bit as I loaded a box of Emily's favorite pastries into the BMW. The bakery opened early just for me. The owner remembered Emily pressing her nose to the glass as a child. The 3-hour drive stretched in front of me like a confession I wasn't ready to hear. I kept the radio off and let the tires on asphalt be my metronome. My mind spun rationales. Maybe Margaret planned a surprise. Maybe Emily wanted privacy around a project. Maybe I was catastrophizing. By the time I reached Riverside Heights, I'd almost convinced myself this was a misunderstanding. Emily's house sat on a tree-leaned block that looked like a movie set. White picket fences, kids' bikes tossed on manicured lawns. Her front door was painted a bright yellow that felt wrong for the thing coming. "Dad!" Emily stood in the doorway, her face sliding from surprise to happiness to confusion. "What are you doing here? Can't a father surprise his daughter?" I lifted the pastry box, trying for ease. "Brought your favorites, chocolate croissants, apple turnovers." She hugged me tight, and for a moment everything felt ordinary. We sat in her sunlit kitchen, the very kitchen Margaret had supposedly been helping renovate, though it looked unchanged from the housewarming. "Where's Mom?" Emily asked, pouring coffee. "Did you two drive separately?" My stomach dropped. "She's not here?" I asked, careful. "Here." Emily frowned. "Why would she be here?" "She left yesterday afternoon, said she was coming to help you with—" I couldn't finish. The look on Emily's face answered before she did. "Dad," she said, voice steady like someone speaking to a person on a ledge. "Mom hasn't visited since the housewarming. We've talked on the phone, but she hasn't been here." My hand tightened on the pastry box and flakes spilled like ash onto Emily's table. My legs felt disconnected, as if borrowing someone else's limbs. The coffee rattled as I put down the cup. "A month," I heard myself repeat. "She hasn't been here in a month." Emily's face went pale, she said, soft and horrified. "Every weekend, she told me she was staying with you every time. She told me that." The words felt like glass sliding down my throat. We sat in a heavy silence, and I realized I had been living next to a stranger. Emily's eyes brimmed with tears she tried not to let fall. My daughter trying to be brave while her ground shifted. That evening I couldn't eat the meal she prepared. Her husband Tom watched me with concern, refilling my glass like hydration could fix whatever inside me had broken. I excused myself and walked aimlessly through neighborhood streets that all looked the same. Sycamore Lane, Oak Drive, Maple Court. Porch lights flicking on, television laughter leaking out into the dusk. 3 blocks from Emily's house time stopped. Margaret's silver Lexus sat in a stranger's driveway like it belonged there. The dent in the rear bumper from last Christmas. Her University of Michigan sticker. The fuzzy dice Emily had bought her for her 50th still swung from the mirror. The house was neat, roses lining the path with blooms so perfect they seemed staged. Warm light bled through sheer curtains, and 2 shadows moved behind the glass with ordinary, intimate motions. I memorized the number on the mailbox, 247, Sycamore Lane, an ordinary address that felt like the end of everything. I walked back to Emily's porch as if sleepwalking, my mind fixed on that driveway, seeing my wife's car at a home that wasn't ours as if it had every right to be there. Emily waited, worry carved into the features that mirrored Margaret too closely. "Dad, where did you go?" she started, then stopped when she read me. "Oh God, you found something." I nodded. My voice had deserted me. That night I lay in Emily's guest room and watched the ceiling fan cut lazy circles through the dark. 30 years of our marriage ran like a film. Wedding day, Margaret in cream-like light, the births, her hands squeezing mine through contractions, anniversaries, vacations, Sunday mornings tucked in bed. When had it turned into a lie? Or had it always been a lie and I had been the last to notice? I had 2 choices. Walk away and live with the picture of that car forever, or knock on that stranger's door and let 30 years shatter by morning. I knew which path I'd take. Sunday dawned heavy and gray, sky the color of old newspaper. I sat at Emily's kitchen table, untouched eggs cooling, while she watched me with red-rimmed eyes. "You don't have to do this," she whispered. "We could call her, ask her to come here." "No," I said, my voice foreign to my own ears. I needed to see it with my own eyes. Emily squared her shoulders. "Then I'm coming with you," she declared, and I tried to stop her but the set of her jaw, Margaret's jaw, made argument pointless. Perhaps she needed to look too. Maybe both of us needed the wound opened clean, not left to fester. We left at 9. I shaved and put on a clean polo and khakis as though appearance could armor me. Emily pulled her hair back into a ponytail that made her look younger, and we walked 3 blocks in silence, our steps synchronous. Father and daughter, together. The roses at 247, Sycamore Lane were even sharper in daylight. Red like blood, red like Valentine's Day. Red, the exact shade of 3 decades worth of anniversary roses I'd given Margaret. I knocked 3 times, each rap deliberate, the kind of knock someone with every right to be there makes. Footsteps approached, light and alarmingly familiar. The door opened and there she stood. My wife, though that title felt suddenly wrong. She wore a silk robe I'd never seen before, emerald that made her eyes pop. Her hair was tousled in that lazy way it used to be on Sunday mornings when we lingered in bed. For a few seconds she only stared, mouth parting like someone gasping for air. "Richard," she breathed, then louder, panic threading her voice. "Richard, what are you? Who is it?" A male voice called from inside, casual, comfortable. "Come back to bed. It's Sunday. Come back to bed." 4 ordinary words detonated 30 years. Emily made a sound, half gasp, half scream. I stepped past Margaret into the house, not violently, but she stumbled back anyway, hand flying to her throat. The living room looked like it belonged in a catalog. Leather couches, abstract art, a coffee table with fresh flowers. Margaret always bought flowers on Fridays. She'd bought them for us too. The man stood in the kitchen doorway in expensive pajamas, silver hair still thick and styled at that hour, holding a mug that read "World's Best Grandpa." A ridiculous detail that almost made me laugh. He was handsome in the way money does. Tall, fit, the kind who plays golf at the country club. "What's going on?" he began, then stopped when he saw me. Maybe something in my face warned him. Maybe it was the way I walked toward him. Steady, inevitable. My first punch landed on his jaw before he could set down the mug. The mug shattered on Italian marble. Coffee fanned across the floor. He went down and I followed, my fist finding his nose, his eye, his perfect teeth. Each hit sent a shock up my arm. The pain was clean, a strange honesty in it that nothing else had offered lately. "Richard, stop. Please, you're killing him," Margaret screamed, clutching my shoulders. "Dad!" Emily cried from the doorway, hand over her mouth. The man, Dennis, as I'd later learn, Dennis Grant, retired investment banker, member of 3 country clubs, lay curled on the expensive tile, blood from his nose dark on marble likely pricier than my first car. His pajamas were torn, a slipper missing, small animal sounds escaping him. I straightened my shirt and noticed blood on my knuckles. His or mine, I couldn't tell. Margaret knelt and cradled Dennis's head, that image of my wife comforting her lover searing itself into me like a brand. "We're done," I said simply. 2 words that carried 30 years. "Richard, please, let me explain," Margaret pleaded, mascara streaking. "There's nothing to explain," I answered cold. "You're in another man's house in his robe on a Sunday morning when you're supposed to be with our daughter." I turned to Emily. "Let's go." We left Margaret sobbing over the injured man as rain began, soft drops that felt almost like absolution. Emily didn't speak until we were halfway to her place. "Did you know him?" she asked, voice small and raw. "Never seen him before," I lied at first, then she said, she called him Dennis when she checked he was okay. Dennis. Now the stranger had a name. Dennis who called my wife honey. Dennis whose bed my wife slept in while I sat at home believing in 30 years. "How long?" Emily pressed. "How long has this been going on?" I tasted the truth. Bitter. "I don't know," I said. "But I'm going to find out." Back at Emily's, I scrubbed the blood from my hands in her guest bath. My knuckles split and raw, they'd heal. The man in the mirror looked older than the day before, aged by revelation. Tom made coffee, and the 3 of us sat in the living room while rain tapped the windows. Nobody knew what to say. What's the protocol? Which chapter in the marriage handbook covers finding your mother with another man 3 blocks from home? Emily's voice hardened. "She used me," she said. "She used visiting me as an excuse. 3 blocks away. She used me as her alibi." The calculation turned the betrayal into architecture. Not a single mistake but months of planning. 6 months of lies scaffolded on our daughter's new address. My phone buzzed. "Margaret, please come back. We need to talk." I deleted it without answering. Another text. "I'm sorry. Not what you think." Delete. "Richard, please, 30 years. Don't throw away 30 years." I turned my phone off. That afternoon, I drove home alone. Emily wanted me to stay, but I needed to go back to our house. My house now, to start doing the work of dismantling. The 3-hour drive felt like 3 minutes as my mind sorted logistics. Extraction, lawyer, bank accounts, lock changes. Ending a marriage is business. I'd run logistics for 30 years. I knew how to dismantle with precision. I left that house with raw knuckles and a strange clarity that comes when light finally floods a dark room. Monday, 8 a.m. I sat in Brennan and Associates. David Brennan came highly recommended by my brother, I'd been told. He's a shark, my brother said. He's your shark. David looked the part. Silver hair, a razor suit, eyes that missed nothing. His office of dark wood and leather aimed to intimidate. I wasn't there to be intimidated. I was there to end things cleanly. Tell me everything, he said, fingers steepled. So I did. 6 months of weekend trips, the lies about Emily, the rented place on Sycamore Lane, the blood on marble. David took notes without interruption. You hit him, he said, statement not question. I did, I answered. Will he press charges? Not yet, I said. David smiled. Sharp. He won't, he predicted. A man sleeping with another man's wife doesn't usually want that public. He suggested counterclaims like alienation of affection. Maryland still recognizes it. I pushed a folder across the desk. Bank statements showing $200 to $300 withdrawals every Friday for 6 months. Credit card charges at Riverside Heights restaurants on dates Margaret said she'd been with Emily. A receipt from La Rochelle for $347 for 2 dated 3 weeks ago on our joint card. Lingerie purchased with shared funds. $800 last month. Bold or stupid, David observed, eyebrow climbing. This is clean. Financial infidelity layered on top of physical adultery. Inequitable distribution states adultery can affect alimony. She won't get spousal support. We mapped asset division. House paid off 10 years, retirement accounts, investments, 2 cars, 3 decades of life. I want the house, I said. She can take her car and half the investments. No alimony. David pressed. You sure? Most men want blood. I'd already taken blood that Sunday. By Wednesday every lock in the house had been changed. Jorge from Hammond Hardware did it himself, no questions, sympathy in his eyes. Small towns know everyone's business, but sometimes people look away. I methodically moved Margaret's things into the garage. Clothes boxed, jewelry cases, perfumes, books, romance novels that suddenly read differently. I found photo albums and paused. Our wedding album white leather with gold embossing, Emily's baby book, Michael's first day, family vacations to Outer Banks, Disney, Yellowstone, 30 years of Christmas mornings and birthdays, boxed and labeled for the kids. Thursday evening held thick, humid air. I nursed bourbon in my study when the doorbell became pounding. Richard, open this door. Margaret shouted. This is my house too. I walked to the door but didn't open it. Not anymore, I called through wood. You changed the locks? She asked incredulous. You can't do that. I live here. You live at 247, Sycamore Lane, I corrected. With Dennis? Silence, then pleading. Please let me in. We need to talk. I opened the door but planted my body in the frame. She looked wrecked, smeared makeup, hair tangled, the emerald robe replaced by creased designer jeans and a silk blouse with what looked like coffee stains. 5 minutes, she begged. Give me 5 minutes. No, I said. Richard, please, she cried. It was a mistake. Dennis means nothing. Dennis means nothing. I laughed, sharp and unbelieving. You've been with Dennis every weekend for 6 months, 3 blocks from Emily's. You used her as an alibi. Those words landed like stones. Her sobs shook her. We have 30 years, she wailed. Children, grandchildren. Please don't throw it away. I didn't throw anything away, I said, and handed her a manila envelope that felt like a landing. It was divorce papers. You did, every Friday when you packed a bag. Every night in his bed while I missed you here. She stared at the envelope as if it might bite. Sign them, I said. David Brennan's my lawyer. Sign or go to trial. If we go to trial everyone will know. Friends, book club, the country club. The children already know, I said. Emily was with me on Sunday. She saw you in that robe. She heard him call you honey. Michael knows too. I called him Sunday night. Neither wants to speak to you. The words broke something in her. She sagged against the frame and the envelope crumpled. Your things are in the garage. Take what you want now. Send movers for the rest. Don't come back without calling first. Richard, she tried. 30 years, Margaret, I said with finality. You decided they meant nothing when you chose to undersir another man 3 blocks from our daughter. Sign. Get your stuff. Don't come back. I closed the door. Soft click. Loud finality. She stood on the porch for an hour, knocking periodically. I sat with bourbon listening to her sobs. Some sounds change you forever. 6 months later the divorce was final, uncontested. Margaret signed, took her car and 40% of investments. I kept the house and whatever dignity remained. David called it one of the cleanest divorces he'd handled. Usually there's blood and shouting. She must have known she had no ground. Discovery had exposed more than the affair. Dennis Grant wasn't some random man from a coffee shop. He was Margaret's college ex-fiancé, the man she dated for 3 years before I met her. The one she joked about on our 4th date, saying she left him because he wouldn't commit. Apparently they reconnected on Facebook 2 years ago. 2 years. While I planned our 30th anniversary trip to Italy, she was messaging him. While I cared for her after her hysterectomy, she texted him from her recovery bed. The physical tryst began 6 months ago when Emily moved to Riverside Heights, but the emotional flame had been burning for years. She'd deliberately chosen that rental when Emily moved there. Dennis rented 3 blocks away. She used our daughter's address as her alibi. The premeditation still steals my breath. Emily hasn't spoken to her mother since Sunday. She learned Margaret had been seen in Emily's coffee shop lot trying to accidentally run into her friend. Emily changed coffee shops. When Margaret showed up at the gym, Emily changed schedules. The restraining order was Emily's idea, not mine. Michael flew home from Northwestern when I filed. I showed him bank statements and photos from Margaret's iPad of her and Dennis dining around Riverside Heights. He looked once and said, "Jesus Christ, Mom," and hasn't spoken to her since. He graduates next month. Margaret won't be invited. Small-town gossip did its cruel work. Margaret and Dennis are still together. They've made it official, moved into Sycamore Lane, but the victory looks hollow. Patricia told my brother Margaret cries every night. Their mother won't talk to her. Country club friends have frozen her out. She has Dennis, but she's lost everything else. Children who now see her as a stranger wearing their mother's face, potential grandchildren who won't know her. I'm rebuilding slowly. The house feels different, lighter despite echoes. I repainted the bedroom, bought new furniture, replaced the kitchen table. Small changes marking a transition from then to now. There's a woman at my hiking club, Sarah, a widow, her husband taken by cancer 3 years ago. Coffee a few times. Nothing serious. She makes me laugh and doesn't prod about my marriage. Maybe something will grow. Maybe not. For the first time in months. Maybe doesn't feel like a closed door. Morning routines still catch me. I set 2 cups out and correct myself. 30 years of habit doesn't vanish overnight, but the hurt fades and something like peace, or acceptance, settles in. Margaret gambled everything on a rekindled romance with a ghost. She bet our 30 years against the thrill of secrecy and the rush of sneaking around. She thought she could have both, the security of marriage and the excitement of an affair. She thought 3 blocks was far enough to stay safe and close enough to be convenient. She was wrong. Lies are just borrowed time and eventually repayment is due. She lost her family, friendships, reputation, everything that mattered, for dinners at French restaurants and the glitter of another man's attention. And that brings us to the end of today's story. Did it unfold as you expected, or did it take a turn you didn't see coming? Drop your thoughts in the comments and let's talk. If this held your attention, hit the like button. If you're new here or haven't subscribed yet, now's the perfect time to join our community. I bring stories like this every day. Click subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss what's next. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.